My sister was invited to stand in a quinceañera. And if you don't know what that is a rite of passage for a Hispanic girl at the age of 15. Now, it was a big deal. It was the first time that she had ever been invited to stand in one of those things. And after months and months of practicing, the day of the dance finally arrived. And I was excited because all of my friends from school were going to be there, and we talked about it for weeks on end. Are you going to so-and-so's quinceañera? It's going to be so much fun. And the day of, my mom picked up my sister to do the church, because you have to have the order of ceremonies is church, lunch, and then the dance, lunch or dinner, depending on what time the church is, but I digress. So the day of the dance, I opted not to go to the church part because I was hanging out with my grandma, and my grandma took me to Kmart to buy an outfit for the dance, which I was so excited for. And I remember the outfit perfectly. It was a white and black skirt set, and the skirt had bike shorts attached to it. And it sounds kind of athletic for today's fashion, but back in the late 1980s, early 90s, it was all the rave. Super cute. And I was so excited because I, one, got a shopping trip with my grandma, and two, got a new outfit. And that was the perks of me not going to the dance or going to the church part. And so my grandma did my hair, and I have naturally super thick, super curly hair. And so she had styled it for me with gel and hairspray. And it was just such a treat to also have that time with her. And she put a little makeup on me. And she's like, your mom will be here pretty soon, so let's, speed up this beauty makeover up. And so we did. And my mom walked through the door, and I heard her come in. I ran down the hall, and I was like, I'm ready. Look at the outfit that I bought at Kmart, and grandma helped me pick it out. She put makeup on me and gave her the lay of the land. And she looked right at me, and she said, you're not wearing that. And if you're going to wear that, I'm not taking you. I'm not taking you to the dance looking like that. You're not wearing that. And I said, well, it's brand new. I just bought it. What's wrong with it? She's like, I'm just not taking you. I'm not taking you. And my grandma hears this and comes down and says, what's wrong with her outfit? We just bought it at Kmart, And for whatever reason, my mom was like, I'll go down. You're not going. And my mom was the daughter that you didn't argue with, because she would just start hollering at you. She had that, I don't even know what to call it, reaction. You just didn't want to argue with her, because all she would do is start yelling, and she would start crying, and she would start screaming. And so I just said, well, I don't have anything else to wear. I mean, I could go look at different dresses, but I don't have anything else to wear. This is what I have. And she said, that's fine, but you're not going with me. And I was absolutely crushed, because for months and months and months, I had been looking forward to this dance, and all of my friends were going to be there, and my sister was going to perform in a dance, and I wasn't going to be a part of it. And I didn't understand my pre-adolescent, or I guess I wasn't pre-adolescent, I was like 10 or 11, but my brain at the time didn't understand why I couldn't partake in the festivities based on how I was dressed. And it was at that moment that the illusion was shattered. My siblings had a mom that cared about them, that gave them direction, that parent them, that all the things that a mom is supposed to do. And I got a critic. And that was just one of the first times that I remember her just absolutely criticizing everything about me and not understanding why or what I did to deserve any of that. And so she left and they went to the dance because they were obligated to. They had spent all this money, preparing for this day, being part of the quinceañera. The person standing in it has to pay for like the dress and the hair. And so it's a big deal. And I was just left all dressed up, literally all dressed up and no place to go. And I was very lucky that my grandparents understood, and my grandma just said, Mija, I don't know why your mom is how she is. You look beautiful, and me and grandpa are going to take you out to eat. And even though, I think we went to Steak and Ale or something, some restaurant that's not even in business now, but it was fancy back then. It could have even been Ryan's Steakhouse, which was not really a steakhouse. It was actually a buffet, but again, I digress. And I just remember the weeks afterwards, seeing all the pictures and going back to school on Monday and everyone asking why didn't you go? We were looking for you. Your sister said that you didn't want to come. And it was also then that I realized that, growing up, my mom always said, don't tell people what goes on in our house. Anything that goes on in our house is no one's business but ours. And I learned also that's when my mom was teaching us how to lie, because she told my sister, you just tell them that April she didn't want to come. But in reality, she didn't want to take me because of how I was dressed, or because how I looked, or maybe because she just didn't want me there. And so it was really hurtful looking at the photos that came in, weeks later, because back then everything was on film, and not being part of that memory. And it just sucked. It just sucked. And it slowly unveiled the perception of a mom of what my sisters had versus what I had, which would lead to big mother wounding that I wouldn't even know or have the words or even know how to put into words how that made me feel until years later when I became an adult. And so I'm telling you this story now after years of therapy, and also my mom has since passed. And maybe you grew up with a mom like me. Maybe you grew up with a dad the way I grew up. Maybe this video will resonate with you, and I'm just sharing it to share. I feel like sometimes we don't talk about things because they're too painful, and sometimes we don't share with our kids things about growing up because it's too painful, because their grandparents look different than the parents that they grew up with. And that was true for me too. My mom was a different kind of grandma than she was a mom to me. And sometimes we don't talk about it because it's too painful, and we're like, what's the point? What's the point of talking about it? And the point is it happened and it hurt. And you have to name the hurt in order to heal. So I'm telling you this because if you have a story similar to mine, where one day you realize that you and your siblings all live in the same house, but you don't have the same parents, even though biologically you do have the same parents, name the hurt. Because when you name it, that's when the healing begins. I'd like to hear your stories. Consider subscribing to my channel, liking this video, and I will be back for more.